Ja, då står vi här igen. Livestreamar från Fotomässan, Scandinavian Photo, och idag har vi med oss Ben Pilling från Sony Europe. So now we're gonna switch to English instead.
Yeah, sorry.
So we're like communicating with each other and
Tack.
all that. Tack, tack.
That's my limit.
We're delighted to have you here. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much. Yeah, this is my second Fotomässan.
Yeah.
So I was here last year. I'm here this year. Very nice show. So like I say, it's always really encouraging to see lots of people hands on the product, and for us who are sometimes in offices, sometimes out on the front lines. But it's really nice to actually speak to the people that use it, hear their feedback, reassure them that they're agreeing with other people, and we're feeding this back to Tokyo and this kind of thing. But yeah, it's been really nice here so far.
And you got the weather as well with you, so.
Yeah, I've been here since Tuesday, actually, and do you remember Wednesday?
Yep.
I was quite surprised, because if you ask a British guy, you know, when you think of Sweden, what do you think? And apart from obviously beautiful people, we think of snow. And to say you were unprepared for snow, I was like, what? It's Sweden. How can you not expect snow? But okay.
Yeah.
I was told it was pretty excessive, so I'll forgive you for that.
It was pretty excessive. It was some kind of record, I think. Well, Ben, tell us a little bit about yourself and what do you do at Sony?
Okay, so I am the technical marketing manager for digital imaging at Sony Europe. What that means is I'm our technical guy in the office. I get to play with the toys rather than spend my time on Microsoft Excel, which is great. So I'm doing all hands-on stuff with the cameras. I am doing our internal trainings. I'm visiting journalists. I'm speaking to customers at events like these. I'm working at things like Photokina and so on. And we're also trying to help feedback to Tokyo to tell them what you guys are saying, what the customers are saying, what journalists are saying about our products, what's good, what's not as good, and trying to shape that into future products as well. So I'm very hands-on with the product. I love to hear people's feedback. I apologize if everything's not meeting your demands, but like I say, we are trying to listen to that feedback, and you can see that in some of the new products which we've recently announced as well.
New menus, maybe?
Yeah. I mean, we got a new menu system on our Alpha 99 Mark II and on our 6500, and it's quite funny because we were given a lot of feedback from customers, from journalists saying, you need this feature, this feature, this feature. So we added this feature, this feature, this feature, and then people said, you got too many features. So it's understandable, but we've done some crazy things like, we put similar settings together. Pretty crazy, I know. But we've made things more understandable in those menus. We've listened to that kind of feedback. And again, that's all we're trying to do from model to model. So
it's a balance act to please everyone.
Yeah, it's quite funny because, I mean, just to give you a bit of insight into our internal workings, we might say, we need this. And Tokyo are like, yeah, but China's saying they got 1 billion people needing that.
Yeah.
What's more important? So it's very difficult from their point of view as well. They hear millions of different voices, and we've got to say, listen to us, kind of thing.
So what has people been saying? Have spent the morning here in the Sony booth?
Yeah. We've had a lot of interest. We've had a lot of interest in the new products. We've had interest across everything. So people right from entry level to high-end video to people who've maybe bought their first, second, or third Sony camera looking for the next thing. People very interested in our lens lineup, which we've been expanding. It's been a range of different topics actually so far, but like I say, it's a pleasure for me because I like to interact with the customers and actually hear what they've got to say to us as well.
Has there been any occurring questions?
We've had the same kind of things like, what's new on the Alpha 99 Mark II or the Alpha 6500. We've also had some people who've been moving across some other brands who've been asking how our functions work in comparison to what they're used to as well. So it's kind of nice to see that people are also liking our product and being able to help on those levels as well. So it's pretty good.
And if we go directly to the new product, we have a few here, and the first we're going to have a look at is the A99 Mark II.
Correct.
Yes.
So this is our new full-frame A-mount model. It comes, like I say, 4 years after the Alpha 99, and it is pretty unique because it does 42 megapixel at 12 frames per second, which is just crazy. There's cameras out there which, of course, are very nice cameras from the manufacturers, but they're doing very quick frame rates, but at lower resolutions, which is understandable. There's also cameras out there which do very high resolution, but not at quick frame rates. This is doing 12 frames per second, 42 megapixels. It's pretty crazy.
Fully raw.
Sorry?
Fully raw, just raw. The raw processing is quite amazing as well, because you do 12 raw.
Yeah, exactly.
From a 42 megapixel sensor.
That's about 54 images in a row it can do, which is quite a lot. You're almost up to 5 seconds of shooting, which, if you need to be firing for 5 seconds, then fair enough, we can do that.
Yeah, but what I keep in mind is sports photographers, when they need to crop, they have that information to crop on.
Exactly, because I mean, I saw a picture from the Rio Olympics. I don't know if you saw Getty Images, where they had an arsenal of cameras, which of course, unfortunately, weren't Sony cameras, but they showed that they had kind of all these high-speed cameras, and they had 2 high-resolution cameras because they couldn't have anything which did them both. So that high resolution, whether it's going to be for something that's, like I say, a snapshot of the moment or an actual sports moment, you can get in such high resolution and such high quality. The 99 Mark II, it has that high resolution, that high speed, but it's also got an autofocus system to match. So, as always, we bring something new, and we have a hybrid phase detection autofocus system. So with our A-mount cameras, we use something called translucent mirror technology. We have light going through onto the image sensor and a tiny amount of light going up onto a dedicated autofocus sensor. In here, we've not only got a new, compared to our Alpha 99, a newer autofocus sensor up here, 79 points. It's the same one that we use in the Alpha 77 Mark II. But in addition to that, we're using the image sensor from the Alpha 7R Mark II. This has 399 focus points built into the image sensor. And basically, the camera uses information from this sensor up here and the points built into the image sensor to work out the focus. The advantage is that it gives a very wide area of focus, so it's covering a massive amount of the frame. And one of the disadvantages we sometimes find with cameras is the autofocus area isn't covering the full frame. This covers a large area of the frame, and also it's very quick and very accurate. All of the 79 points are effectively hybrid cross points. They can read information both vertical and horizontal on every point where those 2 sensors overlap. So it's a really advanced focusing system. It will focus down to -4 EV, so very, very low light. And it's, like I say, for the high resolution images at 12 frames per second, it's no good if they're 12 out of focus images. So that focus system working together with that quick frame rate is going to ensure you get really good results.
It's a really versatile autofocus. You have a pretty nice ISO handling in it as well, I can think.
Yeah. So in terms of the image quality and the low light, it goes up to 102,400. So it's, again, these numbers, I mean, for people out there who are shooting film, it's like you never ask for a roll of 36 of 102,400.
No.
But yeah, the low light quality is very good. And what also assists the Alpha 99 Mark II as well is it's got, of course, great lens setup, a great sensor, but you've not got to forget the processor. Not only has this got a new processor compared to the Alpha 99 original, where we use the Bions, now we've got the Bions X, we have a new front-end LSI. A front-end LSI is like a supporting processor, so it's helping out the processor. It's helping out with image quality, so low light, your ISO quality, and the resolution, just seeing, like say, even on your lower resolution ISO 100 to 200, getting the amazing resolution. That's part of the role of this new front-end LSI. But what it also does is help deal with a massive amount of data. So we were talking before, 12 frames per second for 54 raw images. That's because of this new front-end LSI. It's kind of, whatever that is, like over 500 megapixels a second or something. You know, it's pretty crazy. And that's this new front-end LSI. It's helping with image quality, helping with all the data amounts on there. We're mentioning before as well about the user interface and how it looks different, and also this quick shooting. On our other cameras, when you start taking photos, perhaps raw images and quite a lot, when you press the playback button, it kind of comes up with, maybe they're not the nicest message saying writing to card. On this camera now, when you're taking in burst, you can play back images straight away. So you can play back images straight away, you can zoom in on them straight away and check them out, and it also gives you a guide on the top left of the screen saying how many images it's still processing through until it's like fully done with all those images. So it's a massive amount of data. It's still able to do these new functions, and like I say, you're able to look back at the images while it's processing the other ones.
Yeah, which hasn't been possible before.
No, that wasn't possible on other cameras, unfortunately. Yeah. But now, in addition to that, we've got A-mounts, we always have in-body stabilization. What's different on this, though, is it's 5-axis stabilizer. All of our other A-mount bodies have been 2-axis, so pitch and yaw, whereas it also deals with what we call X, Y, and roll shake. So pitch and yaw shake, which is kind of like this or like this, is really typical when you're doing telephoto shooting. And lots of normal shake you see on cameras from Camera Shake. But what X and Y are good for, it's high magnification. So basically macro shooting. It is a different type of shake you get on macro than you do for pitch and yaw or for normal telephoto shooting. So this X and Y compensation can help with the macro shooting, and also the roll compensation, that helps in long exposures or in movie as well. And all that's built in with an in-body stabilizer into the body. So for that high frame rate shooting, like I say, maybe big lenses on the front and with a quick autofocus, you're going to get good stabilization built into the body. Every single shot can be stabilized.
Pretty good.
Yeah, we had on 4K movie for the first time on A-mount.
Yeah.
So we've had HD movie on the likes of the Alpha 99, the predecessor. We also had 4K movie on this model as well. So you can shoot full frame 4K, which again, some of our competitors don't offer. They offer full frame cameras, but sometimes when they shoot 4K, they crop down because there's so much information. We offer full frame mode on the Super 35 mode or the APS-C area. If you shoot it in that mode, it does full pixel readout without pixel binning, so it's exceptionally high quality. It's oversampling. It's taking about 15 megapixels worth of data for your 8 megapixel 4K file, so it's giving you really detailed 4K. And then lots of the options we have on the camera are really familiar from our professional camcorders. So things like picture profile and S-Log and clean HDMI out for recording onto external recorders. All those kind of features are put into the Alpha 99 Mark II. We've also added, which you might know from our professional camcorders, slow and quick. So you can have slow motion in the camera, but also quick motion, like time-lapse. And again, you can dial that in on the camera, and it gives you a file straight out of the camera with your slow motion, with your quick motion built in there as well.
And between the Mark II and the Mark I, it's been a while. And some people thought it was dead on some forums. But we see you have a wide variety of lenses for the A-mount. Do you see some future updates on those as well to support the 42 megapixel? You tell me, because I don't know. You know more than me about the resolution.
In terms of new products, we can't ever comment on future products.
Of course.
In terms of the A-mount, we have said consistently, we will continue to develop A-mount. We will continue to develop A-mount. We have continued to develop A-mount, and everyone's gone, we're so surprised.
Yeah.
So for me, it's quite strange. But we also, if you look at the Alpha 900, which came out in 2008, in 2012, we brought out the Alpha 99, which was 4 years later.
Yeah.
We know in 2016, 4 years later, we brought out the Alpha 99 Mark II. So it's not completely out of the blue necessarily, or
it
out
follows
of strange.
and
it follows the pattern of those. I'm not promising anything for 4 years' time, by the way. My bosses would kill me if I said anything like that. But you can see that in that. We also brought out the Alpha 68 last year as well. So it's not as though we're not interested in A-mount. We really want to support those customers.
Yeah. But do you feel like the lenses are gonna? How are they gonna handle the high resolution?
So very good question.
Yeah.
In general, like say our lenses are like say up to the quality of the high resolution. It could be maybe one or two very much older lenses, might not as much, but if that's the case, we just recommend just stopping down the aperture slightly. But in general, we have very high quality lenses. When you look at the new lenses we brought out in recent years for the A-mount, such as the 300mm 2.8 G2, the 70-400 G2, the 70-200 G2, as well as things like the Zeiss 2470 Mark II, 16-35 Mark II. We've got a very high quality lens lineup in some recent years as well. So like I say, we don't see that being an issue.
It's going to be exciting to see the new one. And if we move on further down the cameras here, you have a new flagship for the APS-C mount.
Yeah, so this is our Alpha 6500. It looks very similar to the Alpha 6300, so very similar size and shape, but actually there's quite a lot different there. First of all, we've got a 5-axis stabilizer inside, so that's the first time again for APS-C, either E-mount or A-mount, we've had a 5-axis stabilizer. And for our APS-C E-mount, it's the first time we've had in-body stabilization. In addition to that, the front-end LSI, which is going to be my favorite phrase of the day for you today, you're going to walk away with this. Thinking about front-end LSIs is the one from the 99 Mark II is put into here.
Okay.
And so that means image quality in terms of noise resolution is better than the 6300, for example, but also being able to deal with massive amounts of data. So the autofocus system in the 6500 is the same as the 6300. It has 425 autofocus points, covering virtually the whole image sensor, and being able to shoot 0.05 of a second autofocus with 11 frames per second. Now with that system as well, like I say, it will be able to shoot continuously in JPEG for 269 shots. So when you're firing away on this, I don't know if you can hear that or not, coming up, but that is going to be able to keep on firing until the action just goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. Now, even in RAW, it'll still do 107 shots, I think. So again, that's
Have you ever done 107 shots in RAW?
I'm losing my microphone by the time this is kind of going up.
I'm going to help you here.
You are going to help me out. It's just started to slow down. There we go. There we go. It's just started to slow down. It's still actually carrying on if you hear it.
It's kind of crazy.
Now, so that, like I say, will give you about almost 10 seconds worth in RAW, to over 20 seconds in JPEG, and it's a massive amount of shooting. Admittedly, you might not be following something around for 20 seconds at 11 frames per second, but sports shooting, wildlife shooting, you might be doing bursts of 1 or 2 seconds.
You
quite
can
a lot,
if you like.
with a gap and with a gap and 1 second, 2 seconds, and that is again very much down to the new front-end LSI because it's helping deal with this massive amount of information being taken in. So you're getting 5-axis stabilizer. You're getting better image quality than the likes of 6300, which is still very good, of course. And you're getting this amazing buffer size coming in on here as well. Additionally, we also add a touch screen. So again, this is going to make moving your focus point around a lot easier. And you can also use that while you're using the viewfinder as well. So it means that you get better interaction with the camera itself. In terms of the build quality, we also changed the styling of it slightly, because what's very strange is, I don't know if you're familiar with the 6300, but it looks a lot like this. And that's pretty amazing, because we've got a 5-axis stabilizer inside. We completely redeveloped kind of the inside central unit. So this is actually the same for the 99 Mark II in terms of its styling. We have the same sensor in an Alpha 99 Mark II as an Alpha 7R Mark II, 42 megapixel, 42 megapixel. We've got 5-axis stabilization in the 7R Mark II and 5-axis stabilization in a 99 Mark II. You'd think it's the same system. It's not. We redeveloped it, so actually it's designed in a different way, and it makes it a lot smaller. The benefit's still the same, gives you 4.5 steps of correction on the 99 Mark II and the 7R Mark II. But that concept of how we set that around, and also we redeveloped the shutter charge unit, so that's actually the motor driving the shutter, to make it a more compact system altogether. We took that concept from the 99 Mark II and we did it for the Alpha 6500 for the APS-C. And what it basically means is, if you look at an Alpha 6300 and a 6500, the size is virtually exactly the same. Yet you've got a 5-axis stabilizer surrounding your sensor inside there. The new shutter charge unit, which like I say was redeveloped in a similar style to the 99, is durable. Like I say, we tested it up to 200,000 shots. It's a very durable shutter inside there as well. And what you find with the Alpha 6300 is we also redesigned the grip. So the grip on here looks a bit more like our 7 Mark II model. So it's a deeper grip coming in on here. It gives an extra custom button as well on the top. So it gives you, like I say, a firmer hold in the hand. So if you're using some bigger lenses, because we also have 4K video on here as well, as we mentioned before, you might be using some big cine lenses on there, then you might want a bigger grip going in on there. So that was also redesigned, even the size of the, we even think about the size of the shutter button. So if you compare the Alpha 6300 to the 6500, it's a bit bigger, and it's like I say, compared to the 7 Mark II, you get a bit of more resistance and a click on there, so you feel when you press the shutter. It's small points, but it's things that we actually really pay attention to when we're developing these kind of models as well.
Yeah. And if you look at the kind of photographers that's going to use that one, which do you think? Do you think filmmakers or action, or maybe both?
We think both. I mean, we found that with the Alpha 6300, we actually attracted a decent amount of professional users as well. And we imagine that those will be across both video and still, because it's, like I say, pretty much a hybrid camera, great film quality. All the kind of things we were talking about before with picture profile and S-Log are included in the Alpha 6500 as well as the 99 Mark II. So we do think it's going to appeal to very high end. We do think enthusiasts, but also people, for professionals, we're also probably going to see a few of those wanting to use the 6500 because it's very adaptable, it's very small, yet it has the world's quickest autofocus. So these kind of, how can I say, battlegrounds that we've had about mirrorless before, where of course some people prefer digital SLR, and that's fair enough, but there's been gripes, as we say in English, so sometimes complaints maybe that the focus isn't as quick on mirrorless. Now with the Alpha 6000, the 6300, the 6500, we had consistently the quickest focusing APS-C cameras. And that's even including digital SLR that's tested to general standard.
And also what people have spoken about is the blackout in the viewfinder.
Exactly.
And that's significantly better now in this
one.
one.
Exactly. So what you get on the likes of the 6500 and 6300, if you're shooting at the full 11 frames per second, there might be a tiny delay. But if you move it onto what we call high mode, which is 8 frames per second, it's going to shoot 8 frames per second with a slight blackout, like you get with the digital SLR, with the mirror moving up and down, and then it gives you a live image straight away. So that experience you get is very similar to panning, for example, with a digital SLR, where you're getting a live update of what your image is going to look like. Like I say, what you see is what you get, what we say. So you're changing your aperture, you're changing your white balance, you see all those things before you take the shot. And all these kind of like high-end features, yet in something that's just as small as this.
Small as that.
Of course, it's magnesium alloy, Wi-Fi included on there as well. And like I say, lots of the buttons on here as well are customizable, so you can really, like I say, set the camera up as you want it to be.
One new in the top as well.
We do. We've got an extra, like I say, we've got an extra custom button on the top, so
yeah.
compared to the 6300, and that again is developed on our 7.
And we have new menus in both of them.
Yeah, so they do have a new menu on there. So the menu system on these, like I say, it might sound a bit crazy, but on here it does have, like I say, things grouped together. So we put all the movie settings, for example, and grouped them together, all the autofocus settings, and made sure everything was put together. Because we just kind of added so much in there that we wanted to organize it a bit better. You even get color coding across the top as well. But across each of the menus, you also get a headline to tell you what's on that page. So very quick, even though this is a new menu system to me, I've gone through, had to show somebody something, and I flick through and I can see straight away from the headline exactly what's going on that page. So hopefully people like those as well. And again, that's something where we listen to customer feedback, where they were kind of like, we don't like your menus. So like I said, that's something we've fed back and something that you've seen come into our product lineup as well.
Yeah. And when we talk about high performance, you have a really small package, but a really high performance there.
Yeah, so this is our RX100 Mark V. So as you can probably guess, the 5th iteration in our RX100 series. And what's amazing is we're still cramming amazing amount of technology into a small package. So again, on this model, autofocus is a real big thing. It can do phase detection autofocus built into the image sensor, 0.05 of a second, so the same speed we were talking about with the Alpha 6500. That's also the quickest there is on a 1-inch sensor compact, but it can shoot with that autofocus at 24 frames per second.
Raw.
Raw, yeah, it can shoot raw, yeah, up to 71 shots continuous in raw.
So about 3 seconds?
So yeah, exactly.
But that's, that's crazy, 24 frames a second in the 1-inch compact camera.
And it's updating the focus. So like I say, that phase detection autofocus covers about 65% of the sensor, so it's covering a large area of the sensor. And like I say, it's giving you that quick speed. And also it's being able to shoot so many shots in a row, like say 71 in RAW. How can it do so many in a row? Can you guess?
I think front-end LSI.
Oh, here we go, yes. I'm glad you're listening. So we don't necessarily normally put a front-end LSI into a product like this, but we've taken one from the 99 Mark II, we've shoved it inside, so given it some steroids, and it means, again, image quality. It's partly dealing with image quality, but also that buffer size, which will give you 71 RAW shots, 150 JPEG. That's what's making this an absolute beast. So on there, like I say, it's got the 4K video included. It's got the stacked CMOS sensor we had on the Mark IV, so you get the advantages of 40 times slow motion, but due to the new front-end LSI, we're getting almost twice as long recording in terms of how long you can record, 40 times slow motion. So you get, in the best quality, around about 3 seconds or so. Make sure you don't record the wrong thing, because your playback of that will be, 120 seconds or whatever, 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So, but we do have things like start trigger and end trigger. So end trigger, it's constantly buffering and recording, and you can finish the recording after you press it. So all those options again were included. And of course, we do have the very popular pop-up viewfinder that you have on our Mark III, Mark IV, and Mark V as well.
And the articulating screen on the back as well.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you love to do a selfie shot, like I say, you've got all that included in on there as well. So tilt screen, and again, in something which you can actually fit in your pockets.
Yes.
So it's still very tiny. Again, customization options. So you might think, oh, it's small, how do I deal with this? All the kind of buttons on the back are virtually customizable. You got a lens control ring on the front, again, which you can customize as well. So it's really, like I say, making sure that even though it's a small package, you still get really good operation out of it as well.
Fantastic travel camera.
Yeah, we think so. I mean, we do find that people who are purchasing the cameras like the Mark III, 4, and 5 are higher end users. So a lot of people who own interchangeable lens cameras, whether that's a digital SLR or a mirrorless, and we're finding that, like I say, particularly the Mark III and Mark IV, we're attracting that higher end user who's looking for a second camera. Maybe they don't want to take their digital SLR or whatever on a family holiday, and they've got this in their pocket. We think that the Mark V with the autofocusing capability is going to meet the demands of that high end user more. So, like I said, they use that quick autofocus on their interchangeable lens camera, and that's what the Mark V is really bringing to the game.
Yeah, great. Well, Ben, it's been great to have you here. We love to chat about new cameras, and the availability is this one is available right now.
Yeah, so the Mark V is available already.
And the other two?
6500 you'll probably see around about the start of December.
Okay.
And the Alpha 99 Mark II is literally shipping in right now.
Great. Well, thanks so much. It was great to have you here, as I said, and I hope you have a nice Fotomässan.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Tack.
Tack ska ni ha för att ni lyssnade på mig och Ben här. Vi är snart tillbaks där vi ska prata med Fujifilm. Tack ska ni ha. Ja, då står vi här i Sonys monter med Sebastian. Hej Sebastian!
Hejsan!
Vad har du att bjuda på mässan här?
Ja, massa kul och spännande och lite nyheter bland annat då. Men vi fortsätter ju visa upp en väldigt stark expansion av objektiv. Så att det här är väldigt viktigt för oss att visa, den stora bredden vi har. Vi visar även lite 3D-part, om man kan säga det, om ett Carl Zeiss-objektiv, men Batis-objektiven. Så här kan man komma och fråga lite om man är nyfiken på alla våra objektiv. Vi har Ben här som är vår tekniska marknadsspecialist för Europa-divisionen. Så att han kan, det han inte kan, det kan ingen på Sony, helt enkelt. Så det är kul. Går vi vidare här så har vi, här är en ganska häftig grej. Det här är våran Balanced Optical Steady Shot som vi har byggt in i våra actionkameror. Det här är alltså den första och enda actionkameran på marknaden just nu som kan stabilisera i 4K optiskt. Så vi gör så här helt enkelt att vi slår på den här. Och kan vi då genast se effekten på tv-apparaten här med påslaget och avslaget. Hur, nu dessutom är bildkvaliteten sämre på den ena, det är ju inte meningen. Men som ni ser är ju bilden mycket stabilare på den högra skärmen.
Och just i action är väl det ganska viktigt?
Jätteviktigt. Jag tycker det är många som dokumenterar sina resor nu för tiden. Att man är ute, man åker iväg till Mallorca och så har man den här lilla actionkameran och går runt med den i handen med ganska stötigt. Men här har vi ju faktiskt löst det problemet. Så det känns jätteroligt. Säljer på väldigt bra, kul. Scandinavian Foto har sålt mycket mer än vad vi förväntar oss. Så det tycker vi är jättekul. Ja. Så det är toppen.
Bakom oss, vad ser vi där?
Jo, men i år har vi fokuserat på att ha en massa kameror runt om en blomsteryta här för att man ska kunna få en uppfattning om bildkvalitet, kunna liksom få en levande stämning i montern. Så att här kan man då testa alla våra kameror, allt från kompaktkameror till stora systemkameror till videokameror och se bildkvaliteten. Som vi sa tidigare, 2 kameror fast i snöstorm, så det är en person just nu och köper 2 tv-apparater till. Så att, men vi kommer att ha 4 tv-apparater här från och med lunch.
Härligt. Ja. Och de är till och med direktkopplade då, eller?
Jajamän, så här ser vi då en bild som någon så vackert har komponerat med RX10 Mark II. Ja. Så det är lite roligt faktiskt att kunna visa upp. Ja. Ja.
Om vi fortsätter varvet.
Ja, en ganska häftig grej som vi har fått från Sony Europa här och fått hjälp med är ju en 85-tums TV som rullar en timelapse 4K som kommer från Andreas Fernbrandt. Så det här är en otroligt maffig tv och en häftig grej att komma in till när man kliver in på mässan här tycker jag. Jätteroligt att se bildkvaliteten från timelapse gjorda med Sonys kameror och med vilka kameror och vilka objektiv. Så att vi fokuserar också mycket på stora prints självklart. Hög upplösning, stora prints. A7R2 är en högupplöst kamera, 42 megapixel. Stora prints runt om i montern för att inspirera till fotograferandet. Så ganska enkel och ren monter med mycket inspiration till att fotografera helt enkelt. Det tycker vi är viktigt.
Hur viktigt är det för dig att möta era kunder här på mässan?
Jätteviktigt. Det här är ju det som gör att vi kan bilda oss en uppfattning om vad vi gör rätt och vad vi gör fel. Och det är ju någonting som jag verkligen vill jobba på och som jag tillsammans med mitt svenska team men också vårt nordiska och europeiska team vill bli bättre på. Och vi vill också höra, vad är de nöjda med? Vad är de missnöjda med? Vad kan vi göra bättre? Det här är det bästa sättet att träffa kunder och göra det bra.
Vad får du för feeling än så länge?
Jo, men kunder har ju alltid önskemål. Det är alltid kul för man får ju sanningen slängd i ansiktet på sig. Vad är man nöjd med? Vad är man inte nöjd med? Så att hittills tycker jag vi får mycket bra recensioner på kamerorna. Folk har funktioner de gärna vill addera till kameran. Det kanske är objektiv som saknas i objektivserien så det kommer. Så att jag tycker bara det är roligt. Kritiken som kommer är för att de gillar våra produkter men vill ha ännu mer. Och det är ju bara roligt.
Tar du med dig sånt vidare?
Vi försöker att föra lite anteckningar, skriva upp lite små saker och sen när mässan är klar så gör jag en liten sammanställning på mail och skriver hej till våra europeiska management då, som kommunicerar med Tokyo. Och sen försöker de då att skicka den här feedbacken. Det här är svensk feedback från våran mässa, Sveriges största fotomässa. Och sen tar de det i, tänker de på det helt enkelt när de utvecklar mjukvaror och framtida kameror.
Nyheterna har du antagligen med dig också här på borden.
Precis, vi ska se här. Vi har ju RX100 generation 5, den är upptagen nu, populär. Vi har ju faktiskt även en A6500. Den är där. Yes. Det är det enda exemplaret som finns just nu. Vi har 3 eller 4 exemplar som finns att visa i Europa. Så att den är inte så lätt att få tag i, men här har vi den då. För kunder som är nyfikna, slutet på november, början på december är våran estimering av första leveranser. Väldigt mycket uppmärksamhet kring den här, många som frågar. Våra nya high-end-produkter kommer till APS-C-sensor A-mount helt enkelt. 5-axlad bildstabilisering, 300 bilders buffer i 11 bilder i sekunden i råformat, supertrevlig kamera. Touchskärm som så många har efterfrågat. Äntligen har vi den här touchskärmen för att lägga fokus och där vi även kan flytta fokus medan vi arbetar i sökaren. Så det här tycker vi är ett jätterolig addering till vårt alfasystem helt enkelt.
Som folk vill klämma och känna, det är bara att ta sig hit till Sonys monter på Fotomässan. Vi tackar dig Sebastian för din tid.
Tack så mycket. Tack för att jag fick vara med.